I'm Jamie O'Kane, CPA, Small Business Advanced Tax Planning and Compliance Extraordinaire, and this is the Abundant Beans Podcast, the podcast that takes my love for learning what makes people tick while digging into the good, bad, and ugly of small business ownership. We strive to give you the insight that only those in the trenches of being and working with entrepreneurs can provide. Do you find, and I think I talk about this all the time, but I find that if you ask people to make a 10-year goal, it's tiny, right? So like people they can't cast vision to 10 years. That's big enough.
Yeah, I agree.
But if you ask them to make a 1-year goal, it's going to be way too big to be available.
I agree.
Yeah. So I try to, we always go for that 10-year goal, and then we go back. We back into the 1 year.
Yeah. No, I mean, when I challenge people with that 10, 15, 20-year goal, they really struggle with that.
We do.
And you're right. Worked with a couple of companies recently, and they're almost achieving their 10-year goal in 2.5 years. Just because they didn't think big enough. Yeah.
So what are the Ironman principles that you use from your book?
Yeah, so the principle I call MIA. So the M is for mindset. Mm-hmm. So, every day, either in business or in personal life, we're always going to come up with some challenges. Mm-hmm. Whether you have an injury, whether you have some type of personal challenge, health or whatever. And it's really how you deal with that. Mm-hmm. You can either go two ways. You can either just let that stop you and create that barrier for you. Mm-hmm. And you just get sucked into that negativity. We've been all going through those challenges with COVID over the last year or so, and you either get stuck into that negativity, or you just push through it, and you almost just take that as you either go around it or you jump right over that challenge. So mindset, I think, is huge, and it goes back to what you were saying earlier about your mindset about achieving bigger and better goals. And then, the second part of that is the I, which is being intentional. I find that, most people wake up in the morning and they'll immediately jump into their phone and they'll look at their emails, they'll look at their social media, and suddenly their brain is just spinning. And that tends to almost set their day for them, because they just get caught up in all that small minutia stuff. And I'm more about really planning what's going to happen in your day and setting almost mini goals that I want to try and achieve by the end of the day. And I'm always constantly looking at 4, 5, 6 times a day. I love it. But does it work for you?
Oh my gosh. Taking the time to just sit down and write what goals I need to achieve every day. Taking the time to just sit down and write what goals I need to achieve every day is significantly changed what gets done around here, and how I feel at the end of the day about what happened. Because it's so easy to just hop into the inbox and deal with all the little stuff that really doesn't need an immediate reply or anything like that. I could spend all day in my inbox getting, client needs this, client has a question about that, staff needs this, blah, blah, blah. But if I sit down and intentionally say, this is what needs to happen today. We use the whole firm. We use a program called Gears that my coach teaches. So it's your goals, your events for the day, your actions, when you're going to rest, or when you're done, and then how you're going to take care of yourself that day. And it's just Gears all the way down. I just stick it right in my planner. The whole team has the same planner.
That's awesome.
And we all, because it's 5 spaces in each day. It works perfectly. And I know if I have a ton of events, I'm not going to really get any large projects done. But I've learned that by sitting down and doing this every day, or every work day. And it's been a game changer. So let's talk about your book, The Ironman Mindset for Entrepreneurs. At what point in your Ironman training did you realize it could be applied to business owners?
afterwards. I always had the goal of writing my book. My dad's written a bunch of books, so it was just one of my bucket list items.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started to think about what type of book, I then started to, I was at the tail end of my Ironman career, and I just started to think about some of the parameters and similarities between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Starting off with, I had no idea at the beginning when I first moved into playing rugby. I then started to do a bit of running, and I had no concept whatsoever to do an Ironman race because my swimming was horrible. I mean, I literally could swim one length of the pole and breaststroke.
That would be me.
You imagine a big rugby guy who's 200 odd pounds,
Mm-hmm.
legs sinking. Yeah, that was me. So, I suppose I started to think about, well, maybe I'll start off with a sprint. Maybe I'll start off with a Olympic distance. And then once I've built up that confidence, then I start to think, well, okay, where am I going with this?
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, I decided to do my first Ironman in 2009. But it's the same in business. I think a lot of people maybe either lack of confidence or they just they're in their comfort zone and are not thinking big picture enough.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically what I try and do now is I try and encourage people to think about getting outside their comfort zone and where they're going in the future. Can you get 50% growth, 100% growth? So yeah, like that big, hairy, audacious goal. Yeah, I mean, I found by surrounding myself with really good people that, yeah, I did make a lot of mistakes, but I think once I started to surround myself by other business owners and mentors that I quickly made less mistakes and my business started to scale up. So yeah, I was definitely lucky to not fail at a bunch of businesses. And that's what I enjoy doing now is I'd like to share what I've learned through my years to other business owners. So yeah, just what I've decided is my calling in life.
I get it. I understand. That's part of the reason we do this thing.
Yeah.
So you kind of just touched on that, but let's talk about the growth of that company. What were some of the game-changing decisions you made that allowed you to scale up so quickly?
Yeah, probably two main things. One being finding the right people. I think a lot of people complain about not getting any people to fill their vacant positions, but back in, it was probably 10 years ago or so, I realized there was no way I was going to be able to keep growing the business the way I was, relying on me, because I was really hands-on. So I brought on probably 2 or 3 real key people, and I coached them over a 2 or 3 year period, and they became senior leaders in my company. And so, yeah, they eventually became branch managers, and they ran the company for me. I just came in and coached them, and almost I suppose my underlying message to them was treat this like your own business, but you don't have, the failure part, because you've got all this money behind you, you've got this expertise behind you. So treat this like your own business. Go out and take some risks, take care of your clients. And then, the other part was really putting some parameters around what their KPIs were. We looked at things like the revenue, we looked at things like labor numbers. So just really put what are their KPIs or the critical numbers that we can measure their success. So that just allowed them to, again, be creative, but still stay within those parameters.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening or watching. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, or wherever you prefer to listen. If you learned something and found some useful information to apply to your business today, please consider giving us a thumbs up and a review. Until next week, be abundant.